Hey guys, what's up? Coming back with another YouTube video. This one's gonna be this is gonna be basically about Pokemon, but I'm also gonna be talking about Monotype, which is a certain game mode, or not game mode, but it's like basically a type of ladder where you're only allowed to use one certain type of Pokemon. And I'm also gonna be running some music in the background recommended to me in the comments. So if you guys like it or not, just let me know. But yeah, I'm gonna keep that running low in the background. But one of the biggest things about Monotype is having a team that can support itself. And as I was just saying, it's very important to have a team that has a good core to support itself. And you want to have good swap-ins depending on the Pokemon you're facing. So I'm gonna start by giving suggestions on one of the most important Pokemon, I think, for a Dragon Monotype team, which is Kyurem Black. The reason why he's so important is because he's a really strong wall breaker. For him, I recommend an ICMZ because what you can do is, even with his ability Terravolt, right, which ignores the abilities of other Pokemon. So let's say a Pokemon like Venusaur, right, it Mega Evolves as Thick Fat. Normally, like a Pokemon like Kyurem, right? If he didn't have that ability, would have trouble getting through because you have a Thick Fat, which has the attacks of Ice type moves, but you don't have to deal with that with Kyurem. So the reason why it's good to have ICMZ is so he's a good wall breaker and he's very reliable with his speed for outspeeding like normal like slow threats, especially on like Dragon Monos that you would face while you're laddering. So for the first move, I would put Freeze Shock, and the reason why I would put Freeze Shock is because it gets his ICMZ all the way up to a 200 power when it turns into Sub-Zero Slammer. So you want that. The only thing is you won't be able to use it really unless it's like you're like basically the Pokemon can't touch you, and you can use Freeze Shock and then get the next Pokemon that comes on the next turn. So you want to have Freeze Shock. Outrage is good as a stab move. And stab is basically same type attack bonus. So if I were to use a dragon type move on a dragon type Pokemon, then it would give me an extra bonus in damage. And you want this move especially on your Kyurem because it does a lot of damage. Now what you want to have too is Iron Head for coverage against Fairy, especially on a dragon monotype, because you're going to be facing a lot of Fairy teams that you need coverage for. And you also want Fusion Bolt, which is going to be really good against Stall Water, which is a big problem usually for Dragon, at least in my experience. And I know Smogon recommends, 252 in HP, but you don't want to do that. You want to have all your 252 in attack. You want to have your max speed with the good nature for it, right? Here, give me 1 second. I'm just going to turn off my fan so it's not as loud. There we go, guys. Sorry about that. But what I think is good for this is if you put max speed on it, so it can outspeed like slower threats that do a lot of damage. It'll save you a lot of trouble. Okay, so that's basically Kyurem, the wrap up on him. Another say you can run is a Choice Scarf, but instead of Freeze Shock, you'd replace that with Ice Beam. But that's not what I'm gonna show in this team. Okay, so for the next Pokemon, I think is also really important. You want to have a Garchomp, and you don't want to do Mega. You can, but it's not good versus Ice, and it's not good versus Fairy. And it can be decent versus Fairy actually, but it's not really worth it because in the Mega he loses speed, and that's not good. What you want really is a fast Rock Setter, and you want to put Focus Sash on him, so that way what happens is you have a way to get around like getting one shot if something's faster than you, so you can always consistently get those rocks up. So I think what's important too is putting on Toxic, because when you're facing something as Dragon, you tend to run into a lot of tanks, and sometimes your team may not have the capabilities to take it out at the time. So if you throw a Toxic on it really early, then you won't have that problem later when Garchomp is either down or gone, right? You also want to run Earthquake because obviously it's just stab. Now here's where you can change it up. If you think a Pokemon's going to set up, and you want to have something that can change it from setting up, I recommend Dragon Tail. Now, me personally, I either run Dragon Claw, right, which is good stab, and it's just good in general if you can't hit something with Earthquake, or Outrage. But the only thing with Outrage is that it traps the Pokemon in it. So I recommend either doing Dragon Tail or Dragon Claw. You can do Outrage if you want the extra damage, but it could also trap you into the move. So for this example, I'm just going to use Dragon Claw. And you want to put max speed. This is where the set suggested is actually good. You want max speed and you want max attack. Alright, so for the next Pokemon that I think is really important, I think you should use Goodra. And the reason why I say this is because if you run Assault Vest on this, right, and you put Gooey, for one, if there's a physical sweeper that you cannot stop or outspeed, what you do is you send Goodra in, you sack it, which basically means you let it faint, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to get a speed drop on that Pokemon. So let's say it's a Terrakion, right? It goes for close combat, and for some reason you don't have your Dragonite, and you don't have another Pokemon we'll talk about later too, right? So you have the option to switch in Goodra, which will slow it down if it's a Scarf, and then you can send in something that will outspeed it, right? So, or even if it's not a Scarf, and it just outspeeds a lot of your team. What I would recommend is Assault Vest, because this thing is a giant, but it has a huge special defense, so you don't even need to invest anything in it, and the Assault Vest will just like double it basically. So not double it, but you know what I mean. Anyways, so you want to put Ice Beam on this for coverage against Lando T, other stuff like that. You want Flamethrower for Steel, because Steel is also a problem for this team. You'll want Thunderbolt because it's good against Stallwater again, and then you'll want Draco Meteor. You can also run, if you really wanted to, Dragon Pulse, but I think this setup would be good. And for this, I would also go with the recommended set. It's 252 plus special attack, base HP. It's pretty good. It can take like two whole like full Draco Meteors from a lot of Pokemon, and then it can take like a little extra damage before it dies. Another important Pokemon I think you need to have on the team for sure would be Dragonite, and the reason why Dragonite's really good is because of its multi-scale ability, which is if the Pokemon is at full AP, damage taken from attacks is halved. So if there are no rocks up and it doesn't get hit by rocks, then you could stop a sweep with Dragonite. And I recommend running Band because it's a really good wall breaker. So I would run Outrage just for the full like stab for full damage. I recommend Fire Punch because Steel types, especially Ferrothorn, you run into Ferrothorn a lot, and it can be a big problem for Dragon types. So this is a really good like move for it. You want to have Earthquake for Steel types, obviously, and you want Extreme Speed because Band Extreme Speed actually does a lot of damage when you max out your attack, which is what we're going to be doing, and it does a ton of damage, and it helps you get through, stop sweeps if the Pokemon's low enough to hit, or to just get a little extra damage. For the fifth Pokemon, here's where you can kind of mix it up a little bit. What I used to do is I used to run a lot of different Pokemon. Like I would run Hydreigon, I would run a bunch of different others. But for the team I'm currently running right now, which I'll show you guys because I have a bunch of monos. My first team, right now I'm running a Latios. And sometimes I see Hydreigons because Hydreigons do have high attack, like special attack stats. But I think Latios is more reliable as a choice scarf because it can outspeed a lot of things. So that's why I put choice scarf on this. I used to run a Life Orb defog set because dragons don't really have defoggers. But you don't really need to defog rocks if you can play around them well, if that makes sense. So for what I run on this is Ice Beam, Energy Ball, because Ice Beam sweeps ground teams pretty much. And then obviously you have the Seismitoad that's usually in there, or you have a Gastrodon. So that's what Energy Ball is for, which is, and Energy Ball is pretty good in general as a move because it takes out a lot of Pokemon that don't expect it on Latios, because usually they run Thunderbolt or something like that. So you have Ice Beam, Energy Ball, you want Draco Meteor, and you want Psyshock, because sometimes there are special tanks they'll swap in to expecting a Psychic move that's going to hit specially, and then you hit them with the Psyshock and it'll do way more damage than they expected. Good. Okay, so then for the final one, the Mega I always recommend, unless you're like hell-bent on picking Mega Garchomp, and I'll show you that first just in case you are here. Where is he? Oh, write his full name. Okay, there we go. So if you have Garchomp, right, Garchomp, you always want Rough Skin, right? The only thing is he has Sand Force as his ability after he Mega Evolves. So what I recommend for him is a bulky set of Earthquake, Dragon Tail, right? And this is, and remember, so the Focus Sash Garchomp I showed you before, if you pick this Mega Chomp, then you have to pick another Pokemon for that. And for that, you can do like Hydreigon, you can do Haxorus even if you want, but I'll go over those Pokemon in a bit. So what you want to do is you want to have a Stealth Rock's bulky Dragon Tail set, right? You want to have Earthquake and you want to have Iron Head or Poison Jab for coverage. And then what you're going to do is, I know they suggest full HP and full attack, but this thing already has 376 attack without any boosts. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to leave it on 252 health. You're going to want to split this so that it has equal defense and special defense. And the reason why you do that is because it can take a Moonblast from like a lot of fairies, and that's really what you want with Pokemon like these, because then you could come back and hit them with an unexpected Iron Head or Poison Jab, and then they're gone, and you have a huge threat gone. So yeah, this is a spread that I would suggest. You want to have basically equal defense and special defense, but obviously we're not running that on this team, so I'm going to delete that for now. Another Pokemon that could be good on your team if you really want it. I always run Shiny. On the other Pokemon server, Azure, this is actually the one that's on my avatar, but what you really want with this one is it has a really high attack stat, so you can make it a Wall Breaker, and it has Mold Breaker, which is even better. So you run Earthquake, Superpower, which are both high power moves. You want Outrage for stab, and then you want to have Poison Jab just for coverage against Fairy. And this will be really good as a ban because it already has a naturally high attack stat, and its speed is pretty decent. It's actually faster than Kyurem B. So this is really good if you want to have a consistent Wall Breaker that can bust through basically a lot of things. Yeah, so then the last Pokemon I'm going to go over that isn't the Mega that I'm going to be choosing that you can use is Hydreigon. And the reason why Hydreigon's so good is because if you give it a Specs, right? Let's say you give it a Specs. You can also give it a Scarf. Give it Draco Meteor, Fire Blast, Earth Power, or Flash Cannon. Probably Flash Cannon because it helps you against Fairy more. And Fire is for, obviously, Steel. The reason why this Pokemon is so good is because of its diverse move pool, and when you look at this, right, it has 349 special attack, so now you're going to add another, I think it's, 175 onto this. So you're going to have a really high special attack to work with here. And Fire Blast is a really strong move against a lot of Steel types, and I'm pretty sure Specs Hydreigon can, like, two-shot a specially defensive Celesteela that has like a Assault Vest or something, so it's really good. Yeah, but the Mega I'm going to be going with for this will be Mega Altaria, and the reason why is because of it's just really powerful. And the reason why is because, let's say we're running Return on this, right? Because its ability Pixelate turns all of its normal type moves into fairy type moves, so you don't even need to carry a dragon move, because everything a dragon move does, which is only super effective to dragon, you could just have with a fairy move, and then you have 2 open move slots aside from D-Dance or Dragon Dance, which is what I'm gonna run. So that way it makes it fast, and it's pretty good against like bigger threats. So like it can one-shot a multi-skill Dragonite. Like let's just say you're fighting another one on flying or something like that. I also run Earthquake for Heatrans because Heatrans can be a big problem for this Pokemon. And then you're also going to want a, not Heat Wave. You're going to want Fire Blast because no one really expects you to run a mixed. So when you run Fire Blast, it's actually really helpful because you can one-shot like a Ferrothorn that's blocking you if it's not invested or has like minus special defense. I don't know why it would do that, but possibly. Or you could just get a 2-hit KO if it thinks it can set up on you or something. And that's really good. So this is the core that I suggest for Dragon. I mean, you can obviously improvise on this. So yeah, that's about it for this video, guys. But I'm going to do one battle probably laddering with it just to show you guys how it works. And then, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But let me delete this because I already have one. Yeah, I just wanted to do it live time just so you guys could see. So here, let me pull this up. All right. Yeah. Also, shout out to the person who told me to get this music because I actually really like it. It's Top Shelf Sounds, and he suggested that I look at this stuff. So yeah, it's pretty good. So thank you to him. But yeah, anyways, so this is exactly what I was talking about. This is versus a fairy, right? So this is probably not going to be a very favorable matchup. Now I'm going to send out Kyurem because usually they'll start with a Clefable or a Diancie. Actually, maybe I won't do Kyurem. I'm going to go with Garchomp. No, yeah, Shogun. It completely depends on the occasion. Now, I think it's safe to be able to swap because he's going to put up Stealth Rocks, probably. Yeah, exactly. So now I think it's going to be safe to go for Free Shock here and one-shot it and get it out of the way. So you see, that's like a big wall out of the way. So now you don't have to worry about the Clefable later, especially if it sets up a Cosmic Power or something. Now, this is one of the issues you could have. If you have a Pokemon like this, it's really good. So you're going to want to probably send in Goodra most of the time, because what's going to happen is it's going to go for, right now, I think a Moonblast. Yeah, see? And what it can do is it can swap between Moonblast and the other move, which is Diamond Storm, which is physical. So it gets around your Goodra. So you just try and get a little extra damage. If you can't, that's okay. And what you want to do is you want to send in your Latios, right? Because what you can do is you could get it down far enough to the point where you'll be able to one-shot it with extreme speed. And that's why you carry Energy Ball, because Energy Ball is really, really good against a Diancie. So yeah, we're going to see what he does here. I think he's pretty... Yeah, see? So no one really expects it that much. So yeah, that's why we're going to have that in there. I think... Yeah, I think he's going to swap when I extreme speed, but it's better to go for it anyways, because what could happen is he could think that it's not going to kill. But yeah, see, so now that's one of the bigger threats out of the way. The only thing that's probably going to be a problem for this team is Mimikyu right now, because yeah, see, because I have to swap right now, and I'm hoping that he's lower in speed, but I won't know until I try. But Terravolt will go right through. See, and that was a lucky miss, so that actually worked out in my favor. So if his... Yeah, oh my god, yeah, that was really lucky. But you see, so Terravolt busts right through with Iron Head, and he's raging over here. But I would be too, that was stupid. But yeah, and now you have Fusion Bolt, right, to take out Azumarill, which is a huge threat on Fairy, because if it belly drums, then it could potentially sweep your entire team. So Fusion Bolt usually one-shots it, not this time, but at least you got good damage on it for later. What you're gonna want to do, I think, like what I want to do here, is I'm gonna put in Dragonite, I'm gonna go for extreme speed, I'm gonna get Chip Off on that Tapu Lulu, and then I'll work with that to take out the Tapu Koko, because Tapu Koko, if I get up a Dragon Dance, right, let's say he sends in Bulu, and I send in Altaria, then I think I can get one Dragon Dance off safely, and then be able to outspeed him, and then take the rest of his team out. So that's what we're gonna do. But you see, I can like get him down to 50, and Stone Edge is low accuracy too, so sometimes it misses if you get lucky. But next time I think it's gonna kill. Yeah, probably will. I could also swap the Garchomp if he was a Scarf, but I think it's just better if you yeah, sorry, I just got distracted for a second. I think it's better though if you just play it safe, because now I have a free D-Dance, because what's happening is my Altaria is gonna not be super affected by Stone Edge, and you see how well it's taking it. So there's not much to worry about it anymore, and it's getting the recovery from the grassy terrain. So yeah, he's Scarf, so he has to swap. So I outspeed this Tapu Koko now, and as long as it's not Focus Sash, I can just Earthquake it, take it out, and now I'm gonna take out the Tapu Lulu, and I'm gonna win. So yeah, so GG. Yeah, so that's basically how you would want to use this team. It's really viable against other Fairy teams if you play it well. And obviously I got some hacks there, because that Mimikyu could have taken out my team. But yeah, it's really viable usually. The only threat really is that Mimikyu, and then sometimes if you get to a point where the person's outplaying you a lot. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll make sure to post more. So thank you guys, and I'll see you later.